This is the plaintiff, Charmaine Laster. He says he hired the defendant, an accountant, to incorporate the church where he's the pastor. Turns out the defendant's nothing more than a crook who swindled him out of his money, did nothing for his church, and he now has to hire someone else. He's suing for $5,000 for a refund and his added costs for hiring someone else. This is the defendant, Raymond. He says he did indeed incorporate the plaintiff's church as instructed, then began work on getting it recognized as a non-profit. He tried reaching the guy for months to get the financial numbers from the church, but the plaintiff never called him back. Now, he's turning around and suing him? He's accused of not adding up.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff, a pastor, hired the defendant to incorporate his church and says the guy turned out to be a swindler. But the defendant says he did the work and the plaintiff was the one who was doing weird things with money. It's the case of in God I trust, but not my accountant.
Thank you, Douglas. Charmaine Laster,
Yes,
you are
ma'am.
suing Raymond. You've asked us not to mention your last name, who was your accountant.
Yes.
For $5,000, $1,200 of it, the amount you paid to him that you want back, and $3,900 in addition for that you paid another CPA to finish what you say he didn't finish.
Correct, ma'am.
Okay, and the statutory maximum, of course, is $5,000. All right, talk to me. Tell me what happened.
I went to Mr. Raymond's office in February. He did some work for me prior on another business matter. So now I started my ministry in 2010.
Okay.
And I was told that I didn't need certain things as like an incorporation or 501c3 right away because that was an outreach ministry. I didn't have a church.
Okay.
So in last year, I got a church building. So I needed these things because donations started to come in, and I just want things to be right.
Right.
You know, I don't want.
So you came to him so that he would incorporate you and start a what's called a 501c3.
Yes.
Which means?
A nonprofit organization with the IRS.
Okay. Which would then give him the benefit of?
Tax exempt status, he wouldn't have to file taxes.
Okay. And so go on. Well, he would have to file taxes.
No,
The
his
church wouldn't have to. Okay. Sign me up. All right.
Me too.
Okay. Go ahead.
So in February, I went to him and I asked him, could he incorporate us and do the 501c3? He said, no problem. You know, I can do it for you. He said, everything is going to be about $1,200. So I paid the defendant the money he asked for. And then time was going by. We're going into April, and I called him and he told me, he said, for the 501c3, can you give me to after April 17th because I'm doing a lot of people taxes, and you know, can you do that? I said, all right, no problem. So I'm busy too because I pastor a church and I'm traveling different places. So April turned all the way into July.
Okay.
And when I looked around and I was like, it's July already. I haven't received anything. And I was on a deadline because IRS was asking me to produce certain things to them. As far as
they were already on your tail?
Yeah, because
okay.
they already was asking me questions about about the church, certain things.
Yeah, because you can't be accepting donations without. Okay.
This is what that's what I explained to him in February when I came to him. The defendant never answered no calls of mine, and what I don't understand is that his office, he has a secretary.
I'm sorry. How many phone calls did you place that went unreturned?
Probably about 5.
Okay, between April
and to July.
Okay, so you would call him and he wouldn't even return your call?
No, I would call him and his secretary would take my message and then say that she was going to relay the message. But what I didn't understand is that he has an office where the secretary desk is like right in front of his.
Okay.
So I was like,
well, when you would call again, would you say, well, he's standing right in front of you? Like, did you ever?
I was saying, well, why are you being the middle person when?
Well, he's not going to answer his own phone. I just want to know from you, when did he finally call you back?
When I asked for my money back in July.
So he calls you back in July, and what happened?
All right. I told the secretary, because everything is through his secretary. So I told the secretary, I said, I need I want my money back. Can you tell the defendant to get in contact with me because I want my money back. Once she must have told him he wants his money back, now he knows my number. And he's texting me and he's saying, you need to call me. So I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to be honest. We text back and forth. I called him a crook. I told him that he was trying to steal from God's people and that wasn't going to happen. And he questioned my character and who I was because I called him a crook.
Do you guys do you have the texts?
No, I don't. I have a new phone. I don't have the text.
Do you have the text?
Oh, yes.
May I see it?
Yes.
Do you actually have it on the phone?
Yep.
You're telling him, let's not go this route over this little bit of money. Don't make it like you did so much because he's telling you that he did 85% of the work. Trust me, I know what you did, and I have more proof than you will know. Let's continue to be professional. Cut the church a check today. How much were you asking him to cut the church a check for? The $1,200?
Yes.
And then he answers professional. You call me a liar and talk street to me and are supposed to be a man of God. I will ask you again. I offered you $250. What do you feel you're entitled to? You answer to him. I don't have to prove myself to you. You're the one who didn't follow through. I want a refund. Then he says, I think you should claim in small claims court so we can present our cases. Well, okay. Ask and you shall receive. All right. Because you are not considering any time I spent working on the 501c. What did you do for the 501c3? Because, I mean, it was February when he hired you. This was already July. Why was it taking so long?
Because he never came to the office. And in those text messages...
Wait, he never came to the office and what?
And gave me the financial information to complete the 501c.
What evidence do you have that you would call him and tell him or make an appointment with him and that he failed to make the appointment?
I had no evidence.
Okay, but you're supposed to be on top of getting it done. So I would like to see now testimony from your secretary, from you about how you kept scheduling him and he wouldn't come in, or emails from you to him asking him to provide certain financial documents. You can't just sleep for 4 months and then hibernate and then say, oh, you didn't give me something. He doesn't know that.
Your Honor?
Yeah.
I didn't sleep for 4 months. Even in the text and as the...
5 months.
No, not March. I asked him, and like he testified to, I said, can I do this after tax season?
Yeah, no, but that's because now it's April. It's taken 2 months. Yeah, you could take another 2 weeks because you've taken 2 months. But then it still didn't happen. Did you schedule him to bring in financial information?
Yes, I called.
And he failed to appear?
He wouldn't. Yeah, he wouldn't come into the office.
Do you have any phone records to show that he was refusing to go? Because he's the guy who's in hostling with the IRS breathing down his neck.
Right.
So I'm having trouble believing what you're saying.
Okay. And that's what mystified me when I got this complaint.
I need you, you're a CPA,
yes,
right? Okay, you have to keep business records, right? You have staff, right? All right, I want to see your phone records. I want to see the testimony from your staff. I want to see an affidavit from your staff. I want to see something that proves that you scheduled him to come in, or that you called him and you reached out to him and asked him for information, and he's the one who just kind of didn't care. Show me that.
I don't have that.
That's because it didn't happen.
No.
Because there is no way that the man who already paid you in full to have a job done, who needs the job done, and has the IRS breathing down his neck, and then finally gets your attention by saying, give me my money back, you cheat. That is not the guy who was blowing off your appointments. That's just not true.
So the people who are deep into the church, like a pastor or whatnot, are they more trustworthy than the average Joe?
No, they're human beings also.
But if you had to judge as a category, do you think they're more trustworthy, or just like you say, the people are people?
People are people. Yeah.
Really? So it doesn't count for anything?
Nope. Humans are humans.
Interesting. No faith here. Going inside the courtroom.
There is something that is severely concerning me, okay? You folks end up agreeing that you're going to get a $300 refund from him. Correct?
He told me to take the $300, and if I don't like that, then take him to small claims court.
No. What he says to you, if you don't want to, if you don't want to take the $300, then I'll petition to the court to show that I'm entitled to the whole thing. I am trying to be reasonable. Okay, have our refund today. And you think that means take my $300 and sue me? And that it's not a settlement?
No, okay.
Ma'am. I will have it tomorrow. Who should I make the check payable to? He asked. Who gave you the money? He texts back.
I didn't know if he wanted to make it payable to the church or to him.
Well, exactly. You did, but I was trying to be respectful by asking you. This is a question. It's not supposed to be personal, right? But I've dealt with people like you before and close all paperwork I've paid for. Did you also give him whatever you'd filled out for the 501c? You didn't do anything on the 501c3.
No, I did. I gave him just the incorporation papers that were.
So what did you do for the 501c3?
The 501c3, Your Honor, is what I prepared for him, and I was waiting for. There's a page 9 in here where he's supposed to come back and give me financial data.
Okay.
He never came and gave me that.
Okay, and you never followed up in 5 months. And now those documents, did you give those to him? When you gave him the $300 check, did you give those to him too? Did you give him this is not a trick question. Did you give him the work you've done so far?
Yes, I gave, no, I didn't give him the 501c3. He says he had somebody else to do it. You have someone else to do it, then okay.
Let me see that.
And this is what I had started on, just waiting for his, him to show up.
What is your testimony? That you would call him and write him, but you have no evidence of it?
No.
What is your testimony on where, how did you leave it? What was, if one piece of paper was missing, what efforts did you make to get that piece of paper in 5 months?
I called him, but like you said, show me phone records. I can't show you phone
now
records.
I want just your raw testimony.
Okay.
And you're under oath.
Yes.
Please tell me what you say you did to obtain a missing financial document that was the only thing standing between him and a 501c3 that he paid you in full for.
I had my office coordinator call him to say, tell Mr. Lester that we have to come in. He has to come in so I can just fill this out. Plus, I'm just gonna nitpick on the part about it was after tax season that we agreed that I would get back to him. So he never came. We never heard from him.
I don't want to hear anymore how he never went to you.
Called.
There's nothing more to discuss on it. There's nothing you could say that would defend you right now. It's really bad, I think. Okay? Now, and I also don't believe you because I think he's the guy with the incentive to get it done. So now let's discuss the problem that you have, which is, do you have the check, a copy of the canceled check? All right. You work out with him through the text that there's going to be a refund and how much will you take, otherwise sue me, and you settle. It's called settling. $300, and then you get the check. It's made out to you, and on the memo line it says, final payment as agreed upon, okay? How is this not a settlement that you're bound to? See, there's a concept in the law called accord and satisfaction. And what the phrase accord and satisfaction means is that when the courts want to encourage people to settle out of court. And if you guys talk to each other, as people of business often do, because they need to move on to their next course of business, then it keeps the courthouse from getting clogged. So what we do is we respect that. If somebody says, I'll take $300, okay, as full and final payment, they got to stay by that. They can't turn around and now sue for the remainder of the money or all of the money a second time. And plus the money you paid to the new guys so that the whole thing will be free. So you can't do that. How is it that this does not apply to you and that this isn't a case that's already settled? I mean, you've tied my hands with this. I would have given you the whole $1,200.
Your Honor, I must admit that I didn't pay attention to the what he wrote down at the bottom.
Okay, that's fine. I don't see how. There's only 3 pieces of writing, but okay. Now tell me how. Just a minute. I've read your text. In your text, it's very clear that you're settling. You're negotiating back and forth, and then you come to an agreement of an amount. That's called a settlement. All right. And based on that, my hands are tied, and my verdict in this case is for the defendant.
The plaintiff is shaking his head as he exits the courtroom after losing this case, but you understand the ruling.
Yes, I understand. And, she was right. It's just that, I got to pay more attention to who I hire, and, make sure that I don't get no more crooks and mixing it up with my good deeds that I'm trying to do.
Mm-hmm. So what did you think when you heard the judge say she would have given you the whole $1,200 if you hadn't accord and satisfaction reached that settlement?
Yeah, well,
it hurts.
Yeah, it hurts. He pulled the little slick move, but it's okay.
Okay, this is the way out. Let's see what the accountant has to say about this. What's your reaction to this?
Well, I knew we settled the case. The plaintiff and I came to an agreement, and then I was told by my office manager that he was going to sue for the rest. I'm like, I thought he was a man of his word, a man of God, and I acted accordingly.
All right. What do you think, Harvey?
Okay, when you basically strike a compromise for a deal that you had already had, that original deal, you should know, just becomes completely unenforceable. And that will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.